Welcome back to Tiny Grimes Games, and I'm here today with an Octopath Traveler preliminary review. This is a JRPG by Square Enix, and I've got to say, this is the JRPG I've been waiting for. I'm a big fan of the genre. I like my JRPGs to look like Nintendo, Super Nintendo games, because that's when I played them. That's back when I played Final Fantasy on my NES and have all these amazingly fond memories of it. And ever since I've gotten a Switch, I've been hunting and looking and experimenting, and I could never quite find that game that scratched that itch. And with Octopath Traveler, I have. First thing, just looking at it, you can see it looks like it would be from the Super Nintendo, but like a souped-up version of a 16-bit game. The graphics, frankly, are really fantastic. This kind of surprised me because with JRPGs, I don't think of graphics as the thing that draws me in. And in fact, when it comes to a JRPG, I really don't care about the graphics at all. It can have the worst graphics ever and still be amazing. But this game happens to manage to be amazingly graphically. Another really interesting part of the game is the story. You play as these 8 different characters. I currently have 4 in my lineup right now, as you can see. I've done a terrible job keeping them even, as Cyrus is lagging behind at 21 and others go even farther back. But you have these 8 different characters, and you're sent on their individual stories throughout this world. And so far, I found that they have 3 chapters in their story. I believe they have more than that. And as you beat each chapter for that character, you can either continue on with that character or try to do the other characters in your party. You actually have 8 characters total, only 4 with you at once. So for instance, I still haven't done Ophelia's chapter 2. It recommends I'm 23. I'm wildly over-leveled for that, except for poor Ophelia, who's like level 8. So it'll be very interesting to see how that goes for me. And the stories are really fun because they're this wide variety of stories. I started with Therion, the thief, who's like the master thief, and that's his thing. And then we have like Ulbarek, who was a knight of a king, and they're like these dramatic stories about these people trying to right wrongs. And then you have like Alphen, who's like, I want to go heal people, and Tressa, who's just a merchant. I want to sell some stuff. I'm really friendly. And so it's really interesting having these wide variety of stories. What it means for me is that different stories will grab different people in a different way, which I think is really cool. That some people I've seen online, people love Tressa. I find Tressa to be naive and lame compared to somebody like Therion, who's really interesting, or, you know, Cyrus the scholar. As someone who has a PhD and is a scholar, Cyrus is someone I connect with. So I find that these stories are really interesting. One downside I will say is that so far they don't interact at all story-wise. It's just like they're all on their individual story, and there's kind of a weird disconnect where it'll be like Tressa, this merchant, will be like, yeah? Oh yeah, I'm gonna take you down, and like, oh, okay, Tressa, we are gonna whoop you, me and my guards. And you're like, psych, I also have these other 3 people with me who are, one's a knight and one's a thief. Like, there's no real explanation with that, which is a little weird. And whoever you choose first is always in your party and leads your party. So you'll be like doing Tressa's mission, going around talking to Tressa's people, but walking around as Therion. So there's a little disconnect there. I'm fine with it. Also, I don't know if there is a grand overarching story that ties this all together. I've read places that there's not, but I don't know if that's a subjective claim, like I didn't feel it tied together enough, or what it is. For me, I think it would be kind of weird to try to tie these 8 very different stories together. I don't think it would feel right. So what I'm hoping that more what I get is a really satisfying conclusion for each of the individual 8 stories. But the bottom line is, the stories are great. You can skip them, and I was really, really tempted to, but I didn't, and I'm so happy I didn't skip any of them. They really have been quite fantastic. Another really interesting element about this game is that each of these people has their own job. So for instance, Therion the Thief, can walk up to anyone he wants and try to steal from them. This is a bad time for me to give this example because I'm not sure I can actually have anyone left to steal from, because that's what I do. Okay, I can steal from her, so I can click steal. These were really high success rates, but to get the Ruinous Seed, it's only an 8% success rate, and there is a downside for not being successful, so I'm not going to do it. Other people can get people to join your party. The hunter can capture beasts, can provoke people, you can duel people, you can do all kinds of different things that, you know, show off these different jobs and make each of these characters feel a bit individualized. And then later on you can get a second job for each, which is also really interesting. Another part that I think is really cool is the combat. Let's first try to steal from this guy. Oh, look, boom. You can steal from these. And there we go. And this is theory on the thief. And you just got to not feel bad about it. You just have to not feel bad about stealing from the people. This other guy, he inquired. He found a new route. Okay? That might not mean anything to us now, but we'll probably run into somebody later that we can talk to who will be looking for a route, and that information will be helpful. Alright, so here's the other element of the game that is really, really cool, and I think distinguishes it from, say, the JRPGs I was playing on the Nintendo and the Super Nintendo. There's a ton of strategies in battle. So each of these guys says a type of attack that they're vulnerable to. Unfortunately, Cyrus the Scholar, actually he had a flame, I should have used it. So I can scroll through my different weapons and figure out which attack is going to be best used on these to exploit their weaknesses. Elfin, the healer, has a polearm, so he will be able to exploit that weakness, and he's getting closer and closer to being, as we're about to see, broken. And when a guy is broken, he not only can't attack, but he's more susceptible to your own attack. So you can do all these different strategies. Like, now that he's broken, I'm going to go ahead and do a special. And you also get a point each turn that you can use or save up, but every turn you're going to get him to augment your attack. So then, since this guy's broken, I'm going to go into my warrior attack. I'm going to do my big cross strike and boosh, hit him for a whole bunch of damage, killing him almost instantly because I had already broken him and made him susceptible to an even bigger attack. So this type of battling is really interesting. I really like how it works. It makes it feel like there is a ton of strategy. And sure, with these little mini encounters, it doesn't feel like much. It's just like, whatever, I'm going to defeat these guys, no problem, almost no matter what I do. But it does make you feel like you're doing something, which is nice. But then when you get to the boss fights are insane. They're like half-hour battles where you really have to use a lot of strategy and like, okay, I want to time it so that I reduce the guy's armor, the big boss, at the same moment that he's going to be broken, and I'm also going to augment my big dude's attack so he can do this insanely large attack and really take advantage of all the weaknesses. I think that is incredibly cool. Another sort of souped up element of these old JRPGs is the fact that you can just transport around the globe. Like, I can go wherever I want. If I've been to a city, I can just teleport there. This is way different than a lot of the JRPGs I used to play, where it was like, oh no, I want to walk back there. No, and then maybe you find like a feather and get a faster transport. Another cool element of the game is there's all these NPCs with little quests that you're doing. This guy, oh, where is my sweet Lori? I came looking for her, and guess what? Apparently I found her diary at some point. The last time I talked to this guy, I hadn't found it, but I have. I'm going to give him her diary, and now this random NPC that we walked into actually has a story. He's excited. Oh my goodness, it's Lori's diary. This brings joy to my heart. There's a chance he's going to go try to find her, and I'll find him somewhere else, so let's see. She wanted to go to the big city. She went on a journey. The one thing is you do actually have to read these because they tell you things. Alright, so he's leaving. He's going to go try to find her. And we got $9,000 for our trouble. So it's really cool that there are all these side quests. All the NPCs have little stories with them. When you scrutinize or inquire, they talk about themselves. Sometimes they tell you really important things. Here's another person with a side quest. And so it's not just your 8 stories, but really just you feel like you're in a full, beautiful world. You don't feel like it's just an excuse to go level, which, by the way, there's still all that, right? There's still all the different equipment, and of course, if you have the thief, you can just steal it all, which is amazingly fun, but they all have different equipment that do different things, and that's really important with the weaknesses, being able to target their weaknesses. Different characters have different spells, so there is a lot going on here. It's really robust, but what I love about it is it's really robust without being over the top. And when I talk over the top, I'm talking about something like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which I know people love, and people will be angry that I said it's over the top. But in my opinion, if you're 8, 10 hours into a game and it hasn't revealed itself to you, and it's still like you're in training mode because there's so many intricacies, maybe there's too many intricacies. I think for me personally there is, and maybe that's just I have less time to dedicate to a game like that, and if I could sink the next 400 hours of my life into it, that I would appreciate it more. But what I love about Octopath Traveler is within moments it was like, come here, whoosh, you're in. And I didn't feel like there was this point where someone had to tell me, no, you just gotta suck it up and deal with it for an hour, and then it gets good. It's more like you power it up and you're like, oh, this is good. So I basically cannot recommend this game enough. Like I said, there are some small little points where you'll probably wish at a time, like, oh, I wish that was a little different. But overall, I think you're going to love this game. I know I do. This right now is my favorite game for the Switch. I just can't put it down. It's one of those things where I'm quite far into it. I'm like 30 hours in, maybe. Let's just check right now. 27 hours in. I have no idea how long it is. Part of me wants it to end at like 40 hours so I can get on with my life and play other awesome games. But another part of me says, no, hundreds of hours. Just play this for the next year and you'll be a happy person. So bottom line is, Octopath Traveler is awesome. I am not surprised that it has had a very positive reaction to it. I suggest you get it. If you have any interest in JRPGs, get it. But I will say, if you hate JRPGs and you hate wandering around and fighting fights and having people talk to you that you have to go through, don't get it. It's a JRPG. It's not like, oh, this is revolutionary, it's completely changed the genre. No. In my opinion, it has perfected the genre. That's different. So if you hate JRPGs, you probably want to steer clear. But if you like them at all, this is the one where you're going to go, ah, my childhood, it's back. So hopefully you enjoyed this review. Let me know what you think of Octopath Traveler. Do you have it? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Really? No, I can't be. And I'll see you next time on Tiny Grimes Games.